welcome our next TED-like talk speaker.
Good morning, everyone. I can't hear you. Good morning. I said good morning. Thank you for that. I know it's early morning. Everyone has just woke up from sleep. I hope everyone had their cup of coffee. Don't worry, I'm going to keep this session a little light. I'm not going to talk about AI. I'm not going to talk about a lot of jargons of UX. I'm not going to talk about web applications. I'm not going to talk about design systems. This is going to be my take on automobile UX. Automobile UX is a very niche and new category that has been came up to India. Even now, there's a little awareness in designers. So for the past 2 days, I was interacting with a lot of designers here. So when I tell them that I work at Maruti Suzuki as a UX designer, the first thing that they ask me, are you an industrial designer? Do you do industrial design and styling work there? So it's not really like that. There's more towards the UX in automobile industry. So majorly, I'm going to talk about 3 things today. One is I'm going to talk about the new trends that are coming to the automobile industry, what challenges it brings to us as UX designers, and I'm going to leave you with some key principles as UX designers that you should look out for while you are designing. So let me introduce myself. So I've done my graduation in industrial design. After that, from my 3rd year of graduation, I had a strong liking towards UX. So I did my self-study in UX design, and after my graduation, I joined Wongdoody Infosys, where I was working for them for more than 2.5 years. Some of my colleagues are sitting here. So after that, I joined Maruti Suzuki as an assistant manager of UX design. So we do a lot of cool stuff here in Maruti Suzuki, right from designing your infotainment systems within your car to it could be your speedometer clusters, your connected applications where you can control your car. Maybe if you want to switch on your AC remotely or unlock your car remotely, that you can do very easily through this application. So such kind of direct to customers projects we are doing here in Maruti Suzuki. So mainly in Maruti Suzuki, we deal with human factors, which is a very niche category within UX. When we say human factors, it comprises of safety. We focus on safety, efficiency, comfort, and usability. So those are our key focus areas when we are designing for our users. And why we say that? Because when you are driving a car, your life is at a stake when you are driving a car. Because if a small distraction within the car distracts you from the road, it might cause a big accident and can take a life. And if you see, human factors is used in domains where life is at a stake. So let's say healthcare, aeronautics, aerospace, railways, cars, etc. But why it is important in cars is because it's a very open category that anybody in India can get an access to a car. You don't need to be a professional to drive a car. Anybody illiterate, literate, whether you are coming from a tier 2 city, tier 3 city, still you have an access to the car. So that's a big risk to the users of our Maruti Suzuki cars. This is me from my childhood. From my childhood onwards, I had a strong liking towards cars. And most of us, I think, have that liking towards cars. Even though today, when we see cars passing by, new cars launching, we appreciate their design, aesthetics, the engine, the sound it makes, etc. But what we miss is the experience part of it. And even I was like that till around an year back, until I came up with this news where our Union Minister, Nitin Gadkari, was talking about the accidents, and he quoted that they are not able to reduce accidents in India, and he quoted that to the problem of human behavior, of overspeeding and getting distracted within the cars. So I gave it a thought, is it really a problem of human behavior, or are the cars not able to communicate with us effectively? So let's look at some numbers here. This comes from government data from 2022. This is not the latest data. So we have more than 7 crore plus cars in India. This, we are just talking about cars. These are not your trucks, buses, rickshaws, two-wheelers, etc. So this is very small portion of the vehicles running in India. Again, some issue. I think I'll stand somewhere near my laptop. That should help. Out of which, in 2022, we observed around 461,000 accidents happening in India. And you know, the interesting fact is that out of these 461,000 accidents, there are more than 168,000 deaths that have happened through these accidents. And that is a really concerning thing for us, because so many people are dying because of road accidents within a year. Yes, that would be great. So thank you so much for helping me out. So I was fortunate enough for the past 1 year to travel around 9 plus states and 20 plus cities around in India. That gave me a good perspective about the Indian road conditions, the mentality of people, how they drive, etc. So if you see, in India, every region we go, there are some or the other driving patterns and road conditions are changing. When we say there are new technologies coming to India like ADAS, do we really have that infrastructure in India where we have well-marked roads? Do we really have that kind of discipline within the drivers that we can implement such expensive technologies here? So if you see, we have like cows sleeping on the road. We have people jumping right from dividers to trying to cross the road. We have two-wheelers cutting lanes in between, and always you have to be on your toes to, look around and be aware what's happening around you. So that's a very tricky situation for Indian drivers, and on top of that, we are adding a lot of distractions within the car. So if you can go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk about the key trends in automobile. Mainly I'm going to talk about the 3 key trends, which is upcoming digital interfaces in the automobiles, connected technologies, and the EV vehicles. So if you can see, if you can go to the next slide. One more? Yes. So if you see, traditionally cars had analog digital clusters which were more towards the utility part. Let's say I want to go from point A to point B. My car is helping me to commute from between these 2 points. And it is also helping me to give some key information of what is my RPM, what is my speed, etc. That is just key information, and it was related to utility. But if you see now that so much tech is coming ahead, now we are going more towards the luxury part. Everyone knows that, okay, my speed is this, okay, my handbrake is on or not, but we are going towards more entertainment part. Car is not just now a utility, but a personal space for families. Most of us might have also observed that we usually use it during office commutes, that we take up some office calls or meetings we attend during our office commutes. And when you are living in a city like Bangalore or Delhi or something like that, you are traveling on a minimum an hour in your single car. So it's become an integral part of you where you are spending a lot of time, you are doing a lot of activities. You might be going out with families, having meaningful discussions with them, listening to music, watching something, playing something. You can play these days on your car infotainments. So if you can go ahead. So if you see in the traditional cars, it were more focused on the tactile interactions. Whether it is a rotary knob to adjust your AC, or maybe a pull button to open your boot, or push button to maybe start on your, or pause your music, something like that. So what did this do? I think we can go back to the previous slide. So what does this do is that when you're driving, you didn't have to look around and, touch on your infotainment clusters. You are just driving, you move your hand to the left-hand side, you navigate to the second rotary knob, and you rotate it. And you know that your AC would change. You don't have to cautiously look there and control your thing. But if you can see the upcoming trends where we are going more to your digital interfaces these days, what it does is that it grabs a millisecond or second of attention while you are driving. Because you don't know where to touch, it doesn't give you a haptic feedback as well. So while you are driving, you have to cautiously look on the left, you have to navigate to that particular function that you are looking for, click on it, and then you come back to your driving again. So that causes a kind of distraction while you are driving. Of course, these comes with a lot of pros and cons, but distraction is something that we need to also consider because it's something which can take your life. If you can go to the next slide, these are some news articles from the past where they have mentioned how distraction has caused accidents or misuse of technologies like ADAS has caused mishaps in the Indian industry. One particular scenario I want to talk to you about is this happened when a car was launched few years back with ADAS technology which had lane assist and cruise control. So there was this YouTuber who was vlogging on his YouTube channel live. He went live, he took his car on a highway, he put it on an ADAS mode with a lane assist and cruise control, and he went back and sat on the rear seat. Within few minutes, that car met with an accident because the car was not able to judge the two-wheelers and the dividers that were there on the road. So the car was not able to communicate with the user when the car will take control over the user and when the user needs to take control over the car. So there should be a two-way communication between the machines and the humans where they should exchange their controls. So if you can go to the next slide and play that. So this is a video from one of the automobile. Is there a sound? Can you play the sound? This is a video from one of the automobile companies where they are focusing on digital assistance so that you can drive distraction-free. Can the audio be played? So what this does is basically this is a digital assistant within your car which helps you in a lot of tasks. And if you see, it has a small tiny eyes which looks like a toy, which is giving that emotional aspect in your design so that it doesn't feel that a machine is talking to you, but a human is talking to you and helping in few things in your driving experience. Whether it is navigating to a particular region, or it might suggest to you that, okay, it's raining outside and the route that you're taking might get waterlogged in some time, so you might take other route. Or you might ask the digital assistant to close the sunroof, take a selfie of me or anything like that. So it kind of helps you within your driving. So let's see, they are taking a selfie and it helps you in different things. If you see, the digital assistant is also expressing some kind of emotions which helps the user connect with that technology and rely and take help while he or she is driving that particular car. Sorry for that, maybe the audio is not there, but I think you can just get a gist of it. I think accessibility is one thing, you could at least see the captions down there. We already talked about accessibility here. You can go to the next slide. Thank you so much. So we are going to talk about the connected technology. Nowadays we are coming with a lot of connected tech in the market. Can you go to the next slide, please, sir? Yes. So when we talk about connected technologies, it's a vehicle and there's an ecosystem around it where you can monitor your car, control your car, locate your car, where is it, or if it gets stolen, you can basically navigate to your car very easily. But what it does is, more than that, it will help you to personalize your experience, measure your driving patterns and score based on that. It will also help you give recommendations of how you can drive better. It will give you alerts if someone is trying to open your car, if it will help you plan trips in future. But what it also does is, it brings a lot of challenges in the industry. One is real-time connectivity, which is a very different scenario in India. Whether you go to a tier 3 city or you park your car at the basement of a big parking lot and you are lost of connectivity. In that case, how do you connect with your car and communicate some actions, or how do you locate your car? That's a big challenge here. Also, second thing is, a lot of these OEMs are selling based on just features. One OEM says that, okay, we are giving 50 features. Someone is saying we are giving 60 features. So is it just based on the benchmarking and competitive pricing, or are we trying to really focus on the key needs of the user? And lastly, there's a trend of EV vehicles now. The dynamics of EV really changes once you are shifting from an ICE vehicle to an EV vehicle, because we have observed that it comes with range anxiety, because that's the most important part while you are driving an EV. You need to know how much can I travel through this particular car. There are so many apps in the market. We observe that more than a single EV user is using more than 20 plus different applications. Isn't that concerning? Because for a single car, you have so many apps within your mobile, and that is consuming so much space. Also, if you see here in the information hierarchy part, when we say that for EV vehicles, your range, your battery percentage is the most important part, where do you see that in this particular picture? It's placed at the very bottom corner where it says ready and 86%, whereas here it shows 306%. 306 kilometers, which is really concerning, right? So we need to focus on information hierarchies when we are showing it to the users. So what challenges it brings to us as UX designers? One is the feature overload. So we are not designing cockpits for pilots, right? We are designing cockpits for a common person. It should be easy to understand, it should be easy to use. And what this does is, when you have so many features, it also brings it a lot of cognitive load to the users. So for us, it's essential that we reduce these cognitive loads through our simplistic designs and categorizing and bucketing few features so that the driver is not distracted while he's driving. Second thing is again safety considerations. You can go to the next part, which is through distraction-free designs. This is one of the OEM which had brought in hand gestures while you're driving. So while you're driving, you can just do a swipe up or swipe down, and your volume goes up or down, so you are not distracted while driving. Second thing is we focus on different feedbacks. It could be auditory, it could be haptics, or it could be visual feedbacks. We can't rely on just one feedback coming up. So that is one thing. Second, if you can go, we have to build trust and reliability with the systems that we are building for through our UX designs. This is an example from one of the autonomous vehicle in the market. How do they build trust and reliability? By identifying and showcasing even the smallest cone that is placed on the road. So that as a user, when you're driving, you get to know, okay, my car is able to identify this, so I can rely on what information it is relying on. If you can go to the next one. Last thing is also about the accessibility part, because in India, we are catering to crores of audience. And when we say crores of audience, we have a diverse set of users coming up. As we had discussed, I think today and for the past couple of days, there could be different types of accessibility issues. Someone could be situationally disabled or something, right? You might be carrying some thing in your hand, or your hand might be fractured, or anything like that. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is one of the good feature that has came up, which is also, I believe, is inclusive design, where you just swipe your leg and it opens up the boot for you. So it helps when you are situationally disabled. Let's say if you have 2 bags in your hand, you came shopping from a mall and now you want to open a boot. It might be helpful for people with disabilities, but it also helps people like us. So I'll leave you with a few key principles here. One is bringing simplicity and clarity to designs, whatever you do. One example here is about how you bucketize and put your functions in tiles approach so that it is easy to navigate with just the colors, and you can navigate and your action is performed. You know which color I have to click and the action is performed. Second is bringing consistency across interfaces, whether it is your infotainment clusters, your speedometer clusters, or it could be your mobile applications. How do you bring that unified design across different systems? One example is of this two-wheeler in India, where they have a single design system across their mobile application and the infotainment cluster, and a cluster on their two-wheeler. That brings a kind of trust, and people are able to relate what they are seeing on their vehicle versus what they are seeing on their mobile applications. If you can go to the next slide. Third thing I'm going to talk about, how do we bring personalization? That is again a key principle that we need to focus on while we are designing for automobile. This is example of one of the luxury cars here. So what it does is that when you are around a 3-meter distance from your car, the car will switch on its lights for you. Once you are around a distance of 1.5 meters, the car doors will unlock for you. Once you open the door, you have a welcome light for you, and once you sit in the car, all your settings are personalized according to you, because it knows your profile, it knows your seat height adjustment, it knows your temperature adjustment, it knows your volume preferences, and the car is ready for you before you take it out for a drive. And the last one I want to talk about is the proactive assistance, which we already have seen in that video, where we need to bring proactive assistance to the users while they are driving their cars. That will help them to do a lot of tasks, because as we know, it's not just about driving cars, we are doing a lot of more things within the cars. So how do we help the user throughout his driving journey? So what we believe in here is human factors and experience design are the key factors that are upcoming in the UX, automobile UX industry. And if you see, humans are forefront at our automobile industry, and experience is there. So if you can go to the next slide. So that is what we call as truly human experience, where you combine human factors and experience design. So today I'm going to leave you with a last quote here, which I truly believe in, that a well-thought UX can really save a lakhs of lives. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much, guys. I am open for any questions, or you can meet me outside after this presentation. Also, you can connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, as you have mentioned that you have almost traveled 20 cities across India, right?
Right.
So, what
This is past 1 year, not for my lifetime, but this is 1 year which I have observed right now. Yes, go ahead.
So, whatever features that you have explained, right? How the trends are going on, right? So, my question is, do you really think the context of India fits to those, this sort of trends that we are going on? You understood that?
Yes, I understand that.
Because just to give an instances, like
Yeah.
you are in Bangalore traffic, right?
Right,
I don't have time to take a selfie.
right.
My objective is I will just reach at my home point A to point B, and that's my job is done.
Correct.
So, yeah, what's your opinion on this?
So one thing is that whatever technologies that we have currently in India, right, they are kind of copy-pasted from Western cultures. If you see, that is happening from a very long time. We are picking up technologies from Western countries and putting it here. Example, ADAS, right? So when we talk to our users, when we do a research with the users, 95% of the people are saying that we turn off our ADAS systems when we are in traffic conditions. Because it is so annoying, your car is braking after every 2 minutes, right? But if you see, there's also contextual part to it. When we go to tier 1 cities, people are much educated, right? Even if they don't want to use that feature, still when they will get a car, they'll see that if the feature is there or not. They will hardly use that feature, but they'll want that feature because they're comparing it across their YouTubes, watching some vlogs or reading some articles there. But once you go to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, they just have basic needs. When we ask them, right, when we are talking to them, they are very satisfied with what they are getting. They are not really considering about, I want this, I want that. They just want a comfortable ride. And if you see, the driving patterns also changes, right? Once you go to tier 3 cities, you have 7 people traveling in a 5-seater car. So, the kind of usage that people have within India is very diverse, very diverse. If you go to the north, the driving patterns would be different, the demands would be different. If you go to the south, the demands would be completely different. So for us as a UX designer, it is very crucial to find those patterns within the demographics and then cater to those particular needs.
Okay, thank you.
I think 2 hands I could see here and there.
Hey, hi.
Yes, hello.
So I just wanted to understand, is there any difference between what we develop for web or mobile apps regarding to the automobile industry?
I would say the difference here is as I said, right, we focus more on human factors. Our core focus is on the safety, reliability, and building trust with the users and giving that comfort. So maybe your UI may not be aligned with what you were thinking about, but your first priority should be on the safety part. Or your UX could be very different from how you interact with your normal web applications, because we have different tactile interactions here, and then there are different modes of interacting with that system. You have your controls on your steering wheel, you have some controls on your infotainment systems, you have some controls for voice commands. Now you need to prioritize as a UX designer what are the crucial interaction or what are the primary interactions for the user and how you can place them in the primary reach of the user. So it's a combination of ergonomics, human factors, UX, somewhat industrial design, accessibility. So a lot of things coming together and then creating an experience.
So the research part, I understand, but when coming to the UI part,
Yeah.
Is there any difference between because you can see in most of the cars, once it get damaged, the display,
Right.
you go for the like some other displays which were available in the market,
Right.
and there is no specific resolution for this, and we don't have.
That would depend on the specific car models, because every car model will might come with a different screen sizes, different speedometer clusters. So it may change, but after research, I think most of the process is really the same.
So is there any design resources available in the market for this automobile industry, or we are in still?
If you see, there are a lot of research papers and blogs out there, but very few specific to the Indian industry, because it's still new. If you see, most of the OEMs, their UX design teams have been started around 2 years back in-house.
Yes.
Earlier they used to do outsourcing from agencies. So India is still kind of learning these patterns and how we can implement UX in automobile specific to India. So there are little resources right now there, but I think it will build over time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.